The question, tell me about your weaknesses or derivatives thereof, is a really tricky question to be faced with in a job interview. In fact, I'd go further. I would say that this is a poor question. And it's a poor question because it sets the candidate up for failure, or at least not to be able to show themselves in their best light. So why do interviewers ask this question? What are they trying to get at? And what are the best ways in which we can handle it? That's going to be the subject of this very short video. Hello, my name is Stephen Wright. I'm a career coach here at Career Mentor, and we help high-performing financial services professionals make their next smart career move. So why do interviewers ask this question? Well, I think sometimes it's just out of habit. They haven't really thought through the consequences of asking this question. Maybe they're looking to screen out a load of candidates. They've got a very long list and they want to reduce that down to a much more manageable short list. So they're looking to screen people out of the process. Perhaps they're looking to see how a candidate reacts under a bit of pressure in the context of a job interview with this stinker of a question. For whatever reason, this question does come up quite often. So how do we handle it? Well, I've done quite a lot of research and I've looked at the advice that various people are giving about the way to handle this tricky interview question. And I think that it comes down to three ways, two of which I disagree with, one of which I think is probably quite good. The first piece of advice that I found was that you actually do tell the interviewer something that is a weakness for you. Maybe you remember something from a conversation you had during your annual appraisal and you go forward with that idea. I'm not sure that that's great advice, and the reason is that because in a job interview, in my view, we are in the business of sales, and if we start talking about the weaknesses of our product, it may seem very honest, but I'm not sure it's the way to go. I think it puts you in a position of weakness within the interview, and so I think that it's much better to avoid that approach. The second way, which is the most common way that people advise answering this question, is that you tell them something which is in fact a strength, but disguised as a weakness. So for example, oh, well, I work too hard, or I get irritated sometimes because I get impatient and I'm all about hitting the deadline, or I'm all about results, or whatever it might be. I think it seems to me to be a little bit transparent, perhaps even disingenuous. And the danger is, of course, that the job interviewer who's heard that kind of answer before will roll their eyes and look for the exits, and it's just not a good outcome. Maybe the third approach is the right answer, and this is where you don't enter into the frame thinking of a weakness as a character trait, more as the lack of a skill or an experience. So you take that approach. Now, ideally, there are three things that we want to have with this answer. First is that whatever your lack of skill or experience is, that it's not core and central to what it is that they're looking for the role that you're interviewing. The second point here is that this is a skill or experience that you just haven't had the time to acquire yet. It's not core, it is aligned to that idea, but you haven't had the time yet, being the operative word. And the third way of dealing with this, or this consideration, is that you are aware of this, so you have self-awareness, and not only that, you're doing something about it to close the gap. So you've read various books on the subject, you're working on a qualification that's relevant to those skills and experience, or maybe you put yourself on a course, or whatever it may be, whatever it is, you are putting yourself forward and you're taking action to close that gap. So there we go. It's a really tricky interview question. I think the third way of handling it is probably the best way, and I wish you well with your job interviews. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel, then very welcome. Please do hit the subscribe button, and if you're watching this on LinkedIn, I'll be putting the blog that I wrote about this in the comments below. If you think it deserves it, then please do smash that like button. It really does help with the algorithms. And if you know anybody who's going through an interview process at the moment and feels that this particular question may come up for them and that this video will be useful, then please do share it with them. That I think would be great. Okay, many thanks.